The euro touched multi-month lows against the dollar and yen on Wednesday as investors fret about the impact on the eurozone economy of possible fresh sanctions against Russia. I'm joined down the line by Crédit Agricole's Global Head of Market Research to discuss further. Hervé, the flight MH17 tragedy overshadowed the G20 meeting, where ministers seemed to disagree on how severe a response should be. Could sanctions really be the cause of the bloc's recovery stalling?
Expectations are for an annual growth about 3% from now and for maybe an extended period of time. In Europe, we are not sure about the magnitude of the improvement, so still uncertainty. Once again, it is in favor of the dollar vis-à-vis geopolitics. I think it is the bulk of your question, but geopolitics has two different meanings. First meaning, if it must have a negative impact on growth, obviously the weaker the growth is, the larger the negative impact will be. And once again, it is against Europe and so against the euro. And second, if we have a serious geopolitical risk today, it will imply for investors looking for the safer places, looking for the more liquid places, and once again, it is more in favor of dollar assets vis-à-vis euro assets.
Conversely, what do you make of the suggestion that the euro's weakness may be more linked to a possible divergence in monetary policy between the European Central Bank and the Fed?
I think it is today one of the main points. There is a feeling that sooner or later there will be a change in monetary policy for the U.S. In Europe, we have the sentiment that ECB will do its best to ensure an as easing as possible ruling, and so here is the divergence between the two policies, and it argues for a weaker euro.
The ECB is not responsible for structural reforms, nor can it eliminate debt overhangs on its own, but it is responsible for meeting its own inflation target. To your mind, has the QE conundrum now become an overwhelming must?
I think that QE is not a magic bullet. QE is a tool which works efficiently depending on the context. QE is working well when the financing of the economy is mostly made through markets and when among the different segments of the financial market you have a clear benchmark. The government bond. It is the case in the US. This is not the case in Europe, where the financing of the economy is mostly made through bank lending. And one of the difficulties for the European capital market is that you have no benchmark. So QE, I think, is not a perspective for Europe.
Eurozone public debt has risen sharply to 93.9% of GDP in the 2014 first quarter. Debt had fallen in both the third and fourth quarters of 2013. On that basis, some countries such as Greece and struggling France have called for an easing in the austerity policies adopted to tame the crisis. Is that now simply out of the question?
When we discuss how we can manage an excess of government debt, two main points must be clear. The first one is that medium to long term, this is clear that balanced public accounts are in favor of growth. So it is in favor of rebalancing these public accounts. Short term, it is difficult, maybe impossible, to rebalance at the same time the private account and the government account. So being able to reduce at the same time an excess of debt, whatever the sector, private or public. Today, with the idea that we have some improvement in growth in Europe, maybe it is a time to say that consolidating the public accounts will be a good idea, because it will be sending a positive message that in the medium term we will have an improvement in the conditions for more growth.
Hervé, lovely to speak with you. Thank you for your time. Well, viewers, for more currency outlooks, make sure you click back to Dukascopy TV for today's forecasts with Charlie Fuchs. For me and for now though, it's goodbye.